Good morning and welcome to Coffee Ann, the longest-running panel discussion show in American radio. To make a comment or ask a question of the panel, call 401-766-1240 or email coffee@woonsocketradio.com. And now, let's join the Coffee Ann panel.
Good morning. It is time for Coffee Ann on ON Radio, Thursday morning. It is March 2nd. I'm Joe Callahan at the Coffee Ann table. Attorney Bob Lauder. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning. Good to be with you.
Emily Haining-Sheen from The Call is here. Hi, Em.
Good morning.
And Dave Richards has joined us as well.
Hi, Em.
Hello, Dave.
Good. Hi there.
Yeah, hi. Hello.
What's up, guys?
We're expecting the mayor, Lisa Baldelli Hunt, to be joining us as well.
Yes, I'm warming up her chair.
All right. Thanks, Dave. But in the meantime,
Just another free service of your local radio
Yes,
station.
exactly.
time for a first message from The Call newspaper.
Yes, so our St. Patty's Day contest is underway.
I saw it in the call.
Yes,
Takes
so
up a big part of the page.
it does. So if you want to win one of our 3 prizes, go to woonsocketcall.com or pawtuckettimes.com. You can enter to win once a day. So please go to one of our websites and click on the St. Patty's Day contest at the top of the homepage. And hopefully we'll have some great winners that will be able to get some wonderful prizes this year. And that's all I got for this
All right.
one.
Okay, Em, you over last night's loss?
No,
PC men's basketball lost last night.
Xavier
Yeah.
beat us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First home loss, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
I did something I don't normally do. This is in the first half, and Xavier was up by 22, and I went.
Yikes.
You
click.
went, yeah,
I
you
said,
turned,
This is
yeah.
going nowhere.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
that's
it
what
was,
did it.
And they made a game of it. in
they,
the
yeah,
second half,
they
but I'm like,
did,
oh,
they
gosh.
did, but yeah, unfortunately, but there's still, there's still games to play.
That's right. Nothing to worry about.
So
What was
nothing
the
to worry
final
about.
score?
Oh, 95 to 84 or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, it wasn't as bad as the Yukon game. But
Yes, that's right. That's right. All right. So, Bob, there's a bill in the legislature, Rhode Island legislature,
There's also some Tonys and
and
Steves and
they want
Carls.
to
Yes.
decriminalize possession of magic mushrooms.
What are magic mushrooms?
Oh, come on now.
Oh, you,
It's a
come
drug.
on.
Bob, we
It's a
grew up in the
drug.
60s.
Come
We
on.
know what magic mushrooms are.
They're psychedelic.
Okay.
All right. Well, according to Brian Potter, he's from Cranston, who filed the bill. He said people with mental health disorders and people struggling with chronic PTSD can be treated with psilocybin, which is the drug
you
in
didn't
the...
do any better than I did the
I
first
know.
time I hit that.
Psilocybin.
Right,
Psilocybin, which is the ingredient in the magic mushroom. So it should be available to the people to help them with their disorder.
Now, and to further their case, Bob, to prove that they're right, this House of Representative member says now Oregon and Colorado have already legalized it by referendum.
And a couple other
Persuasive
states are-
argument, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
a couple
right.
other states are kicking it around, too.
Well, if he's talking about using it for therapeutic purposes as
Yeah.
opposed to recreational like marijuana, I would think that if for therapeutic purposes, you'd want to have a doctor involved to judge how much you should be taking. Mm-hmm. If it's for recreational purposes, that's entirely different. But
Well, it is equal to, in Rhode Island, it's equal to heroin as far as illegality. And nationally, it's the same as fentanyl and everything else. It is like, no. But I read the bill, by the way, when it came in on the Newswire, and it goes on to explain how it's been used for thousands of years. For one thing or another, because the mushrooms have been around for thousands of years. And so it's a naturally occurring thing that people have used successfully, and they say in the bill, their reasoning is that it shouldn't be illegal. This substance shouldn't be illegal, that it wasn't illegal for thousands of years, and that only President Nixon, and they use his name often, and point the finger squarely at President Nixon in his war against drugs, lumped it in with all the rest of those nasty, harmful chemicals. And this is how they make their case for making it legal in Rhode Island.
Does it have an addictive factor? And what
They
is
say that it doesn't in
what
the
is
bill.
the physical ramifications of using it? Do you
Well,
become
if you're taking some sort of a
disoriented, or-
psychological drug or something that alters your state of consciousness, there is always possible consequences. Wouldn't you agree?
I would think so, yes.
Yes.
But I'd like to know a lot more about the product itself before I made a decision as to whether or not I approve
No.
the litigation.
Their big thing
And-
is that it's not a product. It's a naturally occurring substance that God gave us on this green earth.
Well, God gave us arsenic as well, but that's not
That's
something
right.
that you consume on a big
And
basis.
poppies
Yeah.
and marijuana.
I'd like to know
Although
more
they're fixing the
about
marijuana
product.
thing, I suppose.
What's that, Bob?
I said I'd like to know more about the actual product, what it does, and the disability that may accompany it if you use it overuse it.
Oh, okay. Well, just want to let you know that's
I'm
one of the
weaseling
things
out
that-
on that one, man.
one of the things that are kicking around, and just makes you think of all the people that are in prison for having possession of magic mushrooms.
Okay.
If they decriminalize it, we got to let them out.
I'll have to research what magic mushrooms are.
Look,
I
at
realize
that.
I'm
Google
That
it,
was the
Bilbo.
colloquial term for that. The
Yeah.
ones that produce the toxin that, well, the chemical. We'll say the chemical just to be ecumenical about it. But the mushrooms have always had it, and if you ate the mushrooms, then you took a trip, and that was that. So it's not a manufacturer. It's not made, except it's, well, kind of. It's a naturally occurring substance. Would you call that? It's not manufactured, but it is made by the plant. Maybe we'd agree on that
A
terminology.
byproduct of the plant?
Yeah. That I think that would,
No, it's a naturally occurring substance in the plant.
Now you're getting into botany as well. God, this is far beyond me.
You didn't take that in college?
Botany?
Yeah.
Actually, I did, but I
You
don't
did?
remember anything about it.
Wow, really?
I
That's
remember, I remember biology where you had to dissect the frogs, but botany,
Yeah.
You remember Joe Stafford, don't you? She had a popular song that way. Botchamy?
Oh.
I don't know that one.
Why do you
I-
let him in here?
Neither
Just
do
to
I.
harass us?
He owns the place.
The younger members of the
okay.
panel will be oblivious to that song. That was a big song from the late 50s
Oh, okay.
all right.
I took geology as a science in college.
by a big singer
Geology.
from the
Don't know much
late
about rock.
40s.
All right, going on to Massachusetts, their legislation, they have a bill up there, and they want to ban TikTok from devices owned by the state government.
Yeah, I
And
heard
the
about this.
question I asked Dave off air earlier was, if you're a state government person in Massachusetts, why do you need TikTok on your phone?
Yeah.
Unless Dave said, well, unless you're one of the people that are doing cybersecurity, all right, that's different.
Okay. Yes.
You're okay. But if you're in the accounting department, why in the world do you need this on your state phone? You want to have it on your personal phone? Go right ahead and look at cats dancing and things like that. But yes, Bob, you're looking at me like, what's TikTok?
Oh,
Right?
no, I do know what TikTok
Oh,
is.
okay.
You know, I was around when Bell called Dr. Watson into the
Okay,
room, but
yeah.
okay. I would imagine people put it on their government phones just for convenience because they carry the government phones with them maybe during the day and during lunch hour or something like that. This is something amusing for them. But I can also see where the government would say, no, we don't want this on your government telephone because your government telephone also has other
Devices that it's connected to.
Yeah. Classified
Right.
things. Yeah.
And that's what they're afraid of, because TikTok is owned by the Chinese government, and they're worried that they're going to spy on Americans by going into your TikTok app and go in other directions.
It is my recollection that way back when we were still active in Iraq with Desert Storm, that the military had said they didn't want the soldiers or anyone in the military having TikTok on any of their devices at that time. This is not something brand new.
No, but if you want, if you want to have it on your own phone, okay. So and like Dave mentioned, well, that means you got to carry around two phones.
Oh, I did that for
it's-
many years.
And now it's inconvenient, and I don't want to be inconvenienced. Well, be inconvenienced.
Yeah. Exactly.
Carry around two phones, and I told Dave the story of I work for a company, and a lot of companies put bans on websites you can go to and not go to, And there was one time I was working for a company, and I needed to find out, for whatever reason, what time a certain church was having mass. And so I went to go look up the church's website. Big red letters, banned, banned, banned. You cannot go at this time. Could not go to any religious website at all. You know why?
No idea.
They thought I would start preaching at work.
Oh.
And we can't have that of any religion.
The separation of church and state.
Even though it was a private company, they didn't need a Christian up over here and a Muslim over here and a Jewish person over here, all spouting out biblical sayings and from the Quran as well. Yes, Bob.
Get back to the technology and how they did that. This is a telephone that comes from your employer,
Yes.
and they can somehow program the phone so that certain things that you're trying to reach don't go through.
Yes. Well, they're looking for certain words.
Right.
Religion, church,
Yeah.
things like that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. There were certain, alcohol sites you couldn't go to, adult sites you couldn't go to.
Now, I
I'm trying to think of the
suppose
others that were
Tobacco
could be smoking
or-
ones
yeah.
as well.
a parent who had given a cell phone to a child would
Mm-hmm.
have this same power to limit the ways in which the child could use the phone.
Yeah, there's like
Yes.
parental
Wow.
settings. Yes.
Oh,
You
yeah,
can-
that's possible.
Yeah, that goes for smart TVs as well. You
Mm-hmm.
can do parental settings and only have
You got to know the code.
yes, yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Your daughter's older than
My daughter's
so you
34. She knows all this stuff, and it's I didn't have to worry about her with the telephone.
Mm-hmm.
She's a millennial.
Yeah. So
Okay.
so yeah, I just don't know why Massachusetts state workers need TikTok on their state cell phones. Just don't use it.
I don't get it either.
Just use
I
it
mean,
on
I
your
don't
own.
even. I don't
I don't
even.
do TikTok.
I don't either.
I think my daughter does, but she's 17, and that's what the kids do, and she constantly shows me a video of this person, and usually a singer of some sort, and I still say I don't like them, and now let's look at the little cute cat and dogs all playing together, and so that's what she uses it for,
Yeah.
entertainment purposes.
Great.
So I don't think the Chinese are getting any information from her. At least not that I'm aware of. So, all right. Let's see. Did you hear about there was almost a near collision at Logan Airport
Yes, I saw that.
between a Learjet and a JetBlue airliner?
Ooh.
Were they both taking off at the same time?
Apparently, I thought the Learjet was crossing the runway where they expected the JetBlue plane to be, and according to the news article, it sounds like the Learjet pilot wasn't really paying attention to what the control tower was telling him.
Isn't
and
that
it
an
was
FAA rule? You have to
Yeah,
listen to the control
you have-
tower.
Well, he apparently didn't, and
Wow.
they credit the swift action of the JetBlue pilot for
Yeah.
avoiding the crash.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. So you just never know. You always think
No.
it's going to be perfect. Everyone's doing their job right at the
Well,
airport.
and then also there were a couple of incidents of planes. One, there was a fire in one of the overhead compartments, and then there was awful turbulence that people actually had to go to the hospital. This was yesterday.
Wow.
Yeah, because either they, it was kind of that they thought they were in like a safe zone, so you complete, your seat belts are off type of thing, and yeah, there was some people that were seriously hurt.
That's unusual because I've flown recently, and usually the pilots come on and say, "Hey, we know what's coming up. We can see the turbulence coming."
No, you can't.
But they told us this, Dave.
On the radio,
No.
other
Wait a minute,
pilots
wait a
tell
minute.
us that there
Well,
is turbulence there.
okay,
Because you
but
can't
then
see, it's not like a pothole, Joe. You can't see it.
Yeah.
But that what I'm meaning is they tell the passengers, "Hey, turbulence is coming in
Sure.
about a minute.
Right.
Please sit down, buckle in, because it's going to get bumpy."
Yeah.
And they usually right.
Or they say, we're not going to be able to do service this flight
Yeah,
because we
it's
want
too
the
bad.
flight attendants to be
sit down.
safe and sit
Yes.
down. That one, that near miss over at Logan, by the way, Learjets don't need so long a runway, so they will take one runway. And of course, the big jumbo jets need a longer runway, and they intersect at certain points. So that's what the problem was. He was taking off on a runway that went across the long runway. at the wrong time. It's human error because, according to the records in the flight control tower, the Learjet never asked for clearance to take off.
That's another issue.
Yeah.
That the FAA needs to know about.
Well, yeah, when you don't even taxi without saying, "All right, this is," and you give your call sign.
Yeah. You don't back away from the gate.
It's well, you could. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a private jet.
If it's a
private jet, there's no gate. You
Right,
just
yeah.
you turn on the engine, you do your pre-flight, you turn your engines, and then you contact the tower and say, "I'd like to approach a runway. I need a slot. Which taxiway can I use? Which runway am I using?" And they will tell you, but this person just said, "Oh, I'm just going to go over there and take off." Nobody's coming.
Maybe he's new to the area.
Yeah, that was human error. Tall
All right.
and fat, that was human error.
Time for a break here on the Coffee and program. So, Em, time for a second message from the Call newspaper.
Yes. So, yes, we have the Woonsocket Call and the Pawtucket Times, but we also have other publications in the state of Rhode Island. And we're, in kind of a rebranding. So we're not just the newspaper anymore. Just, heard like a great doorbell sound. But
Celebration of your message.
oh, thank you. But we're not just a newspaper anymore. We, do a lot of digital. We do hosting of websites, kind of you name it. We do it. We're a one-stop shop. We do printing as well. So if you need new menus, brochures, business cards, we do it all. We even do streaming. You can have your message on streaming platforms. You can have messages on digital billboards. And that's why we're the RI Media Group, because we encompass the whole state of Rhode Island, not just up here in the north for the Woonsocket Call and the Pawtucket Times, but, we also have other publications throughout the state, including the Block Island Times. So if you are interested in doing any sort of advertising, whether it's print or digital, and doing something up here in the north, or if you want to reach some of our fine Rhode Islanders in the middle of the state, down South County, you can call me at 401-767-8500.
Thanks, Em. More Coffee and coming your way. Comments and questions can be called in at 766-1240.
Krakow Deli Bakery and Smokehouse offers authentic homemade Polish food to make your next meal real special. Try our many varieties of hot and fresh pierogi with onions and dirty sour cream, or pick up golubki, kielbasa, babkas, or some fresh rye bread. We also offer a large selection of specialty and imported goods. We're open Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays from 9 to 6, Wednesdays 9 to 5, and Saturdays 8 to 5. Follow us on Facebook to learn about our weekly specials. Located at 855 Social Street in Woonsocket, Krakow Deli Bakery and Smokehouse has all the authentic Polish foods you love.
The Coffee and panel is enjoying coffee from Down East Coffee in Pawtucket. They're a 62-year-old family business that roasts all its coffee right here in Rhode Island. Founded originally as Excellent Coffee Company, they provide great coffee to food service establishments throughout New England.
Have you heard of Scott McGee with RE/MAX Properties? He's been selling real estate in Rhode Island and Massachusetts for the last 17 years, and you can see that he loves what he does. Scott, as well as his team, take pride in what they call the fair and honest team. No gimmicks. And no, they're not buying your house if it doesn't sell, etc. Just fair and honest real estate. Scott personally works with tons of sellers and buyers and specializes in residential properties as well as commercial, and he's always very fair and offers super competitive rates. Remember, this is probably the biggest move in dollars that you will ever spend or receive. You want to go with a trusted and experienced agent. Scott is fair, honest, and modest, always puts the clients first. And he also dealt with literally almost any situation. You really need to look at your real estate needs as a business. You want to pay and get the right money now so that you're not paying for it later. Trust me. So why not give Scott McGee a call at 401-639-2906. That's 401-639-2906.
Coffee and on ON Radio. Thanks for joining us on this Thursday morning. Joe Callahan here with Bob Lauder, Emily Haney Sheehan, and Dave Richards. Em, feel free to sing Scott McGee's phone number, please.
Sure.
We're checking you
it's-
out on the cue cards, by the way. Make sure you get it right.
Yeah. It's 401-639-2906.
Perfect. One more time.
401-639-2906.
And twice
All
on
right.
Sundays.
Question for Bob. I read this somewhere over the last week or so. What is the definition of aggravated battery?
Oh, dear.
Because you hear assault and battery.
Assault and battery. Okay, assault is putting someone in fear, but it does not necessarily mean that there's actually a physical contact.
All right.
Battery is when I punch you in the face. There's physical contact.
Oh, okay.
Now, aggravated
Figured it'd be
battery.
the other way around, but okay.
I don't know what aggravated battery means because the initial impression would mean if I punched you in the face, it's pretty deliberate and aggravated.
Yeah.
But I'll find out what is the criteria that brings it to aggravated, and if that actually exists as a criminal offense in Rhode
May I
Island.
suggest
Okay.
what it connotes to me?
What's that?
Somebody takes a swing at you and you beat the tar out of them.
That
That's
would,
aggravated battery. If
Wouldn't
they
that
took
be
a
self-
swing at you
wouldn't
and
that
you
be
go in for the
self-defense?
kill, my goodness, that would be aggravated battery.
well, you're
in my
allowed to
view.
defend yourself, but then you're right. When it gets to the point of
Oh, no. See, that's not really defending yourself because they took a swing at you.
And missed?
In this example, they took a swing at you and then you started in.
But if you'd use the action as a defensive mechanism, that's fine. But if you go beyond a normal defense and start to beat on the individual just
Yeah,
because
you're
you're
100%
angry,
right.
and that becomes a battery.
If somebody hit you and you beat the tar out of them, that wouldn't be aggravated battery. That would be self-defense.
Again,
If someone just took a swing at you and then you landed the punches afterwards, then that would be aggravated battery.
let me do some research
Or
because
would
you
it
may
be
be right,
aggravated
but I don't
assault?
know.
Okay.
Man,
It's just
you
I
better
heard
ask the
I just heard
question
that
sometime that I do know
I
the
just
answer
heard
to.
that term. I'm like, well, what's the difference between battery and
But
aggravated
keep in mind that Bob is not a criminal
he's not a
lawyer.
criminal
Yes.
lawyer, but
He doesn't specialize in criminal lawyering, and so he doesn't deal.
Warren? Is that even a
Lawyer.
word?
Yeah, it's a good word.
Yeah. So he doesn't deal with it every day and have examples before him every day in his normal practice of law.
Right.
What a
Howsoever,
great recovery, man. Thank you.
Bob also is a man who wants to give you a perfect answer when he can.
what do you
Yes,
do?
and he does the research.
Right.
What do you do, Bob, when a couple comes and they want to get divorced, but they can't decide who gets the dog? You know? How do you split
my
up the dog?
Oh, we've
Where's
had
King Solomon when you need him?
I would think you'd be the same thing as kids that
Oh yeah.
Years-
I'll
You
have
know-
the dog on Saturdays. You have them on Sundays.
yeah, or 1 week at my house, 1 week at your house type.
years and years ago, this goes back like 40 years at least, we had one involving an animal like that. And Emma's right. In that case, they worked out a deal where the
Custodian.
animal would be with one of them for part of the time and with the other one. I don't recall if it was on a weekly basis or something along those lines. But yeah, it actually arises.
All right.
Yeah. You try and work out the deal and not involve the judge with.
Well, there are
who
fur
is going to
babies
be,
as well. So
Fur babies.
they are.
Such a silly saying.
But you know what though? It's really not because I mean, I know like with my parents, they have a dog.
Yeah.
And she is their fur baby.
Yeah.
So
All right. All right. The mayor has walked into the
yes,
building.
the
so-
mayor has walked in.
So she's
Good morning.
sitting down at the
Good morning. I
table.
said, is
morning.
it okay if I'm a few minutes early?
Of
Really?
They
course.
cut us back to me.
No, for
perfectly-
you,
perfectly
you
fine.
can take the whole hour.
Okay.
Before we get to what's going on with the mayor, DOT director Peter Alviti. Some people want him back, and some people don't, and it's up to the state to decide.
What's the controversy?
Some people just don't think he's doing a good job. That's basically it. There's no scandal. There's nothing like that. They're just like, yeah, maybe we need somebody else in there. So there's a couple of groups.
I'm not
that
going to
don't want him.
comment because I've
Okay.
actually known Mr. Alviti since I was 12.
Really?
Yes, his daughters and I grew up together, so I'm going to stay
Okay.
out of that.
There's two groups: Grow Smart Rhode Island and the Rhode Island Transit Riders, who are against him coming back. But the Senate Finance Committee has already approved Alviti and sent his nomination to the full Senate. So,
Now you say coming back. Had he resigned or?
no, I guess he's you got a how many years
Continuing,
term?
you mean continuing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's just got to, okay, your term's up and they got to be reappointed.
Oh.
Kind of thing. So,
I know nothing about the controversy, and I know nothing about Mr. Alviti, so
okay.
I'm at the other extreme from
From
Emily.
M, okay.
Emily knows everything. I know nothing.
Mayor, how often do you deal with Peter Alviti?
I think Peter Alviti does a great job.
Do you? Okay.
The city of Woonsocket has had a very good relationship with him.
Mm-hmm.
He's always receptive to our calls. I have his cell phone number. I call him if there's an emergency.
yeah.
Otherwise, I'll call some of his other staff. So we work with them very, very closely. And I have to tell you, I don't know where these two organizations are having issues with him, but I will say that the Department of Transportation has been very kind to Woonsocket.
Good.
All right. All right. Comments and questions for the mayor can be called in at 766-1240. All right. We had, I guess you could call it a snowstorm. It wasn't, I mean, it was kind of weak, but 3 inches. Okay. But the city came through okay, dealing with the snow, right? And,
Absolutely.
And the
we
removal.
have a great
and,
team down there. So I remember looking out the window about 9:30 in the morning, the day, I guess you'd say the day after, the day of. We were at asphalt. It was glistening.
Yeah.
I looked out, I could see the bridge, I could see the street, and we have a great team down there, and it has been very well organized. Everybody knows, well, sometimes you have new folks on new routes, and they have to learn the route. It's, it could be a little tricky, because you're trying to plow areas that are covered in snow. You're not quite sure what's underneath there, but congratulations to all the men and women who were out there during the storm, led by Director D'Agostino. And he's got a good system in place. And that brine operation,
Works great, huh?
amen to that.
Does the superintendent of schools contact the mayor's office when they're deciding to cancel school or not and get your opinion on it at all, or do they just take care of that on their own?
Yeah, so there is communication. Oftentimes, I don't know what happened this particular storm, but oftentimes they'll ask the director what he's seeing in the forecast, and he works with the director of facilities there or the superintendent just to see, like, what are you seeing? Are you seeing what we're seeing? And that type of thing, because we have an advanced system on that.
Yeah. And it looked like we were going to get much more, and so,
Yeah.
all right, maybe we should.
Sometimes
they
when you
close
don't have
school
snow
off.
for a while, you're like, 3 inches. It's like, oh boy, big deal, right?
All right, we're going to take a break here on the Coffee and program, and then we're going to get more with the mayor. And it's time for the weather forecast, which is being brought to you by Compassion
A
International.
100% chance of rain today, possibly mixed with snow, freezing rain, and sleet. High of 49 degrees, little or no snow and sleet accumulation is expected today. Tonight, mostly clear skies, overnight low of 27. Friday's weather increasingly cloudy with a high of 43. Friday night, a 90% chance of rain and snow likely, mixing over to all snow for a while and also with some sleet. The low temperature Friday night, 32. New snow and sleet accumulation of 1 to 2 inches is possible Friday night. Saturday, a 100% chance of rain and snow, possibly mixed with sleet before 1 p.m., and then over to snow for the afternoon. High of 38 degrees, breezy with an east wind gusting to 35 miles an hour. New snow and sleet accumulation on Saturday, less than a half an inch. Sunday, partly sunny and a high of 41. Monday, sunshine and 44. Tuesday, partly sunny and 43. And next Wednesday, mostly sunny and 42.
Currently outside the Navigate Credit Union broadcast studio at the corner of Park Ave and Kennedy Street with cloudy skies, no rain at the moment, and 37 degrees. Families in poverty are facing a global food crisis. $50 provides a food kit to feed a family for a month. Just text the word radio to 97646.
You know, when you're paying the right price for protection, you just know it. It's that warm, fuzzy, totally secure feeling, knowing that you're not only getting great coverage, but you're also not paying too much for it. And when it comes to your insurance, there's no one better at getting the right price for your protection than Allstate agents Kara and Celeste Benjamin, because they know when it comes to your bank account, every penny counts towards something bigger, something better. Like a nicer car, that home update you've been dreaming of, or a phone that's fresh out of the box. Those little or big things that we work so hard for. And Kara and Celeste Benjamin want to help you work a little less by getting you the coverage you need and the savings you deserve when you switch to Allstate. Contact Kara and Celeste Benjamin at the Benjamin Agency. One agency, 2 locations in North Smithfield and Bellingham. 765-5000 for a free quote today. Allstate, you're in good hands. And you're in good hands with Kara and Celeste Benjamin at the Benjamin Agency. Savings vary based on the average annual savings reported by new auto customers surveyed in 2019 who switched to Allstate.
Lou Mandeville here to tell you the only place to get your local high school and college scores, as well as the Pats, Bruins, Celtics, and Sox is on My Morning Sports Reports. And they are right here on ON 1240, Monday through Friday on the Morning Fun Show.
All right, it's Coffee and here on ONAM and FM. Thanks for joining us. This is Joe Callahan here with Woonsocket Mayor Lisa Baldelli Hunt, Emily Haining-Sheen from The Call, and Attorney Bob Lauder. And Bob, time for first message from your law office, please.
Thank you. Good morning. 2 weeks ago, I talked with you about Rhode Island cases involving football. Today, I'd like to expand on Joe Callahan's discomfort and talk about cases involving baseball. And both of these cases have roots in Woonsocket. The first case is that of Roy versus the City of Woonsocket, which was decided by the state Supreme Court almost 47 years ago. The case involved a proposed baseball field near Citizens Memorial Elementary School. The City Planning Board, after a series of public hearings, classified an area as reserved for park, recreation, and open space usage. The City Planning Director selected this area to be the site for construction of a baseball field, and the City Council approved the funds for its construction. An abutting neighbor believed that the use of the ground for construction of a baseball field was not within the meaning of the reservation of park, recreation, and open space, and instituted litigation in the Superior Court to halt the construction. The neighbor said that a park envisions an open area having a sufficient number of walks and roadways which could afford pleasure to the eye as well as the opportunity for open-air recreation, and that these amenities were not incorporated into a baseball field. Upon review, the Supreme Court of Rhode Island ruled that the term park suggests many meanings and referenced the Red Sox home grounds as Fenway Park. The court referred to prior judicial holdings in other states which found that the word park was broad enough to include recreational facilities, a golf course, swimming pools, croquet or tennis courts, a band shell, and even a zoo. In this case, the court determined that the city had not violated the reservation on the plan and could continue with the construction of the baseball field. And I'd also like to give a shout out to Aaron Jarrett because he was the lawyer who represented the city 47 years ago and won the case on behalf of the city. If you'd like to discuss this or other legal matters with me, please call my office for an appointment. My phone number is 762-4550. And the disclaimer. The Supreme Court of Rhode Island licenses all attorneys in the general practice of law. The court does not license or certify any attorney as an expert or specialist in any field of practice. Thank you.
Mayor, do you remember that case?
47 years
Excuse
ago, she was
me?
a child.
I know.
Actually, 47 years ago, I was walking through that area
See, that's why I
to go
thought
to
you might
school.
be remembering
Well,
it.
actually, that would be about right, I guess. 47 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the path we would take to go to the high school if you lived in a certain part of the Diamond
Yep.
Hill section. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
you could cut through,
There you go.
past Kobe Glass, through the field, up
Mm-hmm.
to Duluth, or Winthrop, rather, up
Okay.
to Winthrop, St. Leon, however you want to call it. As we know, it's a
You were walking.
dual named street.
You were walking on your way to school. Emily and Joe weren't even around.
Oh,
I was practicing law back then. Oh,
I
well,
wasn't.
I was around, Bob. It's like, I mean, I was, 10, but I was around.
Okay.
I was not.
All right.
Not yet.
We did a note that was called in, 766-1240. So to the mayor, they would just like you to comment on the meeting about Cass Park.
Okay, sure. I just want to go back to what we were talking about, the field. I believe that field was, once the case was won, was called the Nap LaJoy, the Napoleon LaJoy Field.
Oh, wow.
And then about 10 years ago when I took office, I had a conversation with a couple of folks, and that field was no longer either in good shape, or I'm not sure what the situation was. So when I was advocating to take ownership, actually I started that as a rep, and then as mayor to take ownership of World War II Veterans Memorial Park in order to keep the memory and successes of Napoleon LaJoy alive and well in the city, the Nap LaJoy Field. The field, the Little League field that was built at World War II Park was named the Napoleon LaJoy Field.
Wow.
Yes.
Great.
Okay. So the meeting about Cass Park.
Yes. Sorry, I just wanted
okay.
to, in case someone says, is that baseball field still there? Are they using it? Or that kind of thing. Okay. Moving on.
Moving on.
What would you like to know?
Well, they just want you to comment on the meeting. I guess the one on Wednesday night? Nope, Monday night. The joint school committee and Woonsocket City Council meeting. They talked about Cass Park.
Yes.
Okay.
That was basically what the meeting was about.
Oh, okay.
Discussing the Cass Park Recreational Complex and the, so I'll just give you a little update. As you know, we went out to bid for the sale of gravel. I believe we have 3 contractors who will begin excavating the gravel from the grounds. A temporary type road will be in place so they can travel in and out. They will be entering and exiting through the Cumberland Hill roadside. Originally, there was conversation about the potential of coming in 2 different ways, Newland Ave and Cumberland Hill Road. But with the response that was received by the contractors and the amount of gravel that they'd like to purchase, and the amount of trucks, the size of the trucks, and that type of thing, we will be entering and exiting through the Cumberland Hill roadside, which is near the Hokong, former Hokong restaurant. The amount of trucks going up Newland Avenue, it's a bit of a narrow street when there's parking on 2 sides. It's residential, so we aborted that, and we're going straight in through Cumberland Hill Road. I believe, if I recall, the number to be approximately $1 million worth of gravel we have already secured in sales.
Wow.
So we're very happy about that. As we stated all along, that there was an appetite by contractors to purchase gravel, and they recognize the value in it and the quality. So that is, I believe that was mentioned then as well. We are currently looking at doing the proper steps to demolish the Hokong restaurant. We did close on it when I came back from what I call my sabbatical. I was surprised to learn that the property had never closed during that 9-week period. It was still sitting there without a closed deal. So we closed on that property, and working with DEM, finalizing some of the things we need to do, like a survey and that type of thing that needs to be recorded. But in addition to that, whenever you demolish a property, there are steps that you need to take, and certain steps, especially when you're receiving funding from other organizations. But in any case, what we do is we do an asbestos inspection just to see what's there and if there's any, what type. And then in a certain period of time before the actual demolition, you do a pest inspection. And then we always do a walkthrough of the building to make certain before they put the claw into it that we know what's behind those walls, right? So that's what we're doing. So we will be demolishing that. We will not be going out to bid. We will be doing that and ridding ourselves of that particular building. And I believe we gained a little over an acre of land by purchasing that property, which helps with the parking situation, to avoid the type of situation we have at Barry Field now, where everybody's up and down the street. And not that that's bad, that means there's a lot of fans, but the more parking we can give, the better. but a limit, right? You want to utilize some of that land for the development. So, like we mentioned at the meeting, the plan is still fluid. We're trying to capture as much field space as we can. I just want you to know I got a message. They can hear crinkling.
Oh, that's me. Playing with the paper. I'll stop.
So, it's not my bracelets. I got that one day. We hear your bracelets. So anyhow, yes. So we're trying to utilize as much space as we can for as much field space and all the other necessary components that go along with it. So we're really excited. Finally happening. Finally a council that agrees that it should happen. Thank you to them. And thank you to Director D'Agostino. This is not the first recreational complex he's been involved in the construction of.
All right. The Call had a story a day or so ago about the whole thing with Cass Park. Is there a discussion or is there a discrepancy of how many fields are needed over at Cass Park?
Well, listen, there's no question I can get a little edgy when it comes to this, but for good reason. Because politics has been involved in this project for many years, only to hurt the residents and the athletes and students of the city. This particular complex would probably be near completion at this point in time. But the continual holding up of the sale of gravel, time and time and time again for what we feel is no good reason, because we're right back to where we started several years ago. So when I hear that, I feel there's implication and undertones and tones, quite frankly, of, well, like this is not going to work. There's not enough field space. So in the end, I look at it this way. If I'm a married couple with 3 children and we're living in a 1-bedroom unit and we have the ability to move into a 3-bedroom unit, but ideally we need a 4-bedroom unit. Am I going to stay in the 1-bedroom unit because we need 4 and we're only getting 3? So the point is that we've said from the beginning, it's very fluid. We are going to build the best and most beautiful complex that we can. If we are short a practice field, we have acreage and acreage at River's Edge. We have a field between the middle schools. And it is certainly much closer to walk from the high school through Cass Park over the bridge to River's Edge. And, there was talk about busing them to River's Edge. How about putting your sneakers on and walking to River's Edge, right? I mean, we used to walk to Barry Field.
Yeah.
Yes,
Right?
I remember that.
Remember?
Yes.
I mean, we would walk, or somebody had a car, 12 people would cram in the car, right? Because
No
back
problem.
then you did that.
Yeah.
Field hockey sticks sticking out
Yeah.
the window, and backpacks, books everywhere, because of course we had books back then. So I just feel that not all of the political edge has gone away, and I sensed it, and I responded to it, and I did, and I'm not going to deny that.
Okay. Before we get into the next question, it's pretty close to the break. So, Tom, Bob, let's get a second message from your law office, please.
Thank you. Good morning.
By the way, I'm glad the city won on the baseball field thing.
I am too.
That was great.
Aaron did a good job.
Yes.
The second baseball case I'd like to discuss to you this morning is that of Stewart versus Stewart. The case involved a collection of historic baseball memorabilia amassed by a Major League Baseball umpire. The collection included baseballs signed by professional players, autographed bats, bats from World Series, a World Series ring, a Cleveland Indians watch, and even Wheaties cereal boxes honoring Willie Mays and Lou Gehrig. And it was worth approximately $500,000. Several years before the death, the owner held a family gathering at his home and gave 120 of the cards, 10 World Series bats, the ring, and the watch to his son Robert. After receiving the gift, the son Robert and his son Michael, grandson to the original owner, immediately moved the collection from the home of the grandfather into the bedroom of the grandson. Robert, who received the collection, understood that it was his father's desire that the collection remained in the family. In Christmas of 1984, he wrote to Michael, telling Michael that the collection would be his when Robert died. The original owner died soon after making the gift and was survived by his second wife. The grandson Michael moved the collection with him throughout the country, and in 1997, approximately 18 years after the gift of the collection, the grandson stored the collection in boxes placed in the basement of his stepmother, the second wife of the original owner. Later, his father Robert and the stepmother, second wife, moved in together, and Robert constructed a showcase in the basement of the home to display the collection. Robert died in 2005, and Michael told the stepmother he intended to move the collection back to his home. The stepmother refused to release the collection. Litigation ensued. Allegations of a break-in to seize the collection were made to the local police, and after a number of pleadings in the court, the trial justice ruled that the collection should be returned to the grandson Michael. The court noted that Michael, as plaintiff, had the obligation of proving the gift of the collection by clear and satisfactory evidence, and also delivery of the gift to the claimant. The court ruled that mere possession or lack thereof, in itself, is not a controlling factor in determining the existence of the gift. The judge ruled that the evidence of the gift by the grandfather to Robert, and Robert's assumption of physical control of the collection immediately after the giving, and then Robert's letter to Michael setting forth the continuing gift of the collection to Michael, were sufficient to confirm Michael's ownership of the collection. The moral? If one is planning the eventual distribution of a valuable asset, it's really important to create and execute a valid estate plan, either through a last will and testament or a living trust agreement to accompany a valid last will and testament. If you'd like to discuss this or other legal matters with me, please call my office for an appointment. My name is Bob Lauder. My telephone number is 762-4550. And the famous disclaimer: the Supreme Court of Rhode Island licenses all attorneys in the general practice of law. The court does not license to certify any attorney as an expert or specialist in any field of practice. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. And the Coffee and Program will continue. You can still call in comments and questions for the mayor, 766-1240. The best little auction in Massachusetts is Trudell's Auction Gallery in Bellingham. Auctions are presented every other Monday starting at 10 a.m. Please check out their website, trudellsauction.com, to see when the next auction takes place. You can stop by Trudell's Auction Gallery on the weekends before the auction to preview all the items being offered. You will see antiques and all sorts of personal property items from various estates. Trudell's Auction Gallery, 799 South Main Street, Bellingham.
When you visit the Menard Lockature Funeral Home's website, you'll find a wealth of important information, including frequently asked questions about the various options of pre-planning funeral etiquette, visitation, personal help to help the family, and many others. Remember, pre-planning is safe and helpful to family members who may be overwhelmed with details and responsibilities. It also assures that the deceased's final wishes are met. Their website will also feature several photos of their two beautiful and classic funeral homes at 127 Carrington Avenue, Woonsocket, and 71 Central Street, Manville. You'll be treated with courtesy and understanding. Their main phone number is 762-1825. Menard Lockature Funeral Homes.
You can depend on us for public service. ON Radio.
And it's Coffee In here on ON. Thanks for joining us Thursday morning. It's March 2nd. This is Joe Callahan. Bob Lauder is here. Emily Haney-Sheen from The Call. And Woonsocket Mayor Lisa Baldelli-Hunt is here as well. Any questions for the mayor before I move on?
Just a comment.
Else?
There was an article in the Providence Journal last week that seemed to castigate the city in a way that I didn't think was appropriate. It was talking about the demolition of abandoned buildings and suggesting that the city was losing its density, and therefore that was somehow a disadvantage to our population.
Mm-hmm.
I would think that the destruction of the abandoned buildings was a big benefit to our population because it takes away structures that are unsightly and dangerous. I didn't understand the tone of the article at all when it came to reality.
Did you see the article, Mayor?
So I'll be honest with you. I saw the headline and I didn't even read it.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't read it. It's on the side, but I didn't read it. And I also didn't respond to the reporter, which was by design, because the last time I responded to this reporter, she twisted the story. And I thought, why am I going to give you the courtesy knowing that you are probably not going to write the facts that we're presenting. And this is what happens when you get into with these liberal people who, no matter what the story is, they're just going to write whatever they want anyway. So what they don't realize is the fact that we have probably had more single-family construction in the city of Woonsocket more than any other urban community. We have literally taken down properties like you're referring to that were structurally unsound, that had violations that warranted them to be vacated, and taking them off the rolls and then utilizing the land, like on Burnside Avenue. We had problems. We were in court for years with the owner of 2 triple-decker houses. We ended up getting acquisition of that through the courts. We demolished those properties. We placed the folks who lived there in other units, and 2 brand new single-family homes now sit there for home ownership. So when you read stories like that, and I can only imagine the direction it went in, but these folks who think they know everything when they don't even live in the community that they're writing about. And when you have families coming and saying, it's really dangerous, this house has been empty for 10 years, for 5 years, for 3 years, whatever it is, for 15 years, there's no place for the kids to play outside. We don't know if somebody's out there, if people are sleeping in there, if squatters are in there, and then it becomes a safety hazard for our public safety officials. So they write these stories, yet they don't know all the facts. And I intentionally did not respond to her because of what she's done in the past. And she did it more than once in particular to me, but she's done it more than once. And I thought, that's it, I'm not doing it. And not only that, with all the good things that have happened in the last decade in this city, the only time you give us a front page story is when you want to write something negative about the city of Woonsocket. So, I thumb my nose, in a sense, to whatever that expression is anyway, to her. And density is good in your downtown area where you're trying to bring human capital, you're trying to bring restaurants and businesses. But when you're in neighborhoods and houses are literally 2 and 3 feet apart from each other, because years ago a lot of the houses were built like that, that is not beneficial. And people deserve quality of life. They deserve a place for their children to play, or for them to sit in the yard and grill out, or jungle gym equipment, or whatever the case may be. So to write that was unfair, but not unexpected by her.
Oh, okay. Em, do you have any comments or questions before we move on to something else here?
I can say that, the Call and the Times, we're the true local, publications. We have our reporters, in the Pawtucket area and in the Woonsocket area and around the, territory. They're from here. If they're, maybe not from here, they've encompassed themselves into the community. And, they are asking the right questions. And I can truly say that I'm proud of our editorial staff and, what they do. They bring you the facts, whether it's, good or bad. But, our stories are truthful. And we do get both sides of stories. So that's one thing that I can say about our newspapers. I mean, the article that we're referring to is from the Providence Journal, but again, it's I got to be a little bit biased, but it's freedom of speech. But personally, I'm proud of what we do at the Woonsocket Call and the Pawtucket Times.
Bob, do you remember in the article, did it say anything to the effect of, well, we tried to reach the mayor of the city of Woonsocket, but didn't get a response or anything like that?
I didn't read the article that carefully. I just read the part where it was talking about how we were losing density and seemed to equate that idea with losing part of the identity of the city and failing our population, which I cannot agree with at all.
Yeah.
I think that removal of abandoned buildings like the one on River Street that was just torn down. Great. I mean, you had a building that was likely to be a major fire if somebody ignited the place, and it had all kinds of problems with chemicals and past, and now it's an open area that potentially can be used for new construction. Great. I don't see a loss of density in that kind of area as being a detriment to the city at all.
No.
Okay.
And I agree with you.
Oh.
And I agree with you. Why did they not do a story? So for 10 years, I've been working on trying to get rid of 719 River Street, this monster of a building that was collapsing within itself, that has environmental issues, that is owned by someone who has not paid their taxes for years. Nobody would want to buy it at tax sale. It's, it was up to like $1 million of delinquency. So we began pecking away, calling DEM, calling our congressional delegation, our federal delegation, looking for funds through EPA, getting Brownsfield money. And we've accomplished that. That's an example of, you inherit that as an administration. And when I'm gone, people will inherit things that we didn't get to. But my feeling is you have to start. If you don't finish, at least you started, and the next administration can continue where you left off. So this particular building on River Street, it would be there for 100 years if nobody starts to do anything. You drive by there, and I encourage everybody, today's a rainy day, you have nothing to do, get in the car with your cup of coffee, or just get in the car, or go buy a cup of coffee, and drive by 719 River Street, and you will see a wide open expanse of land with one building left on it, on the Blackstone River, across from Cold Spring Park, and you look at that and you say, what can this become? We have spent hundreds and hundreds of hours on this, and countless hours trying to secure funding in the millions of dollars. And that's where I go back to relationships matter. And I would never talk ill about Director Alviti. Just because he doesn't do one thing I like when I request it of him does not mean I call for his removal when you look at all the other things that are happening in the city. So why didn't this woman write a story about how beautiful that land is and how this administration has worked to remove contaminants from the ground and preventing them from continuing to go into a river? No, we talk about, and the only thing I saw when I saw the headline was something that said 2018. And I'm thinking, this woman is talking about something from 2018? Like, you know what? Get your fanny in Woonsocket and come and see what we've done.
Okay. Mayor, do you want to comment on the story that happened, broke yesterday afternoon about the partially treated wastewater being dumped into the Blackstone River?
I will. So I look and I see we have 2.5 minutes.
Just about, yeah.
Okay. So I will touch on that, but I also do want to tell you that because this is constant chatter in the city, as we know, for some good reason and some for other reason, but we did hire a tax assessor. So very happy about that.
When did they start?
He started, it's a he. He started on Monday.
Okay.
And he's very qualified, and he has a very deep resume, and he has a lot of experience in more areas than as a tax assessor. He was a planner. He's an attorney. He's done zoning and planning work. He's written legislation. He served in the Senate. So he has a lot of credentials that'll be very beneficial to the tax assessing office.
And his name?
And his name is John Pagliarini Jr. And we welcome him. And certainly, there you go. There's a story for the call. But let's just touch on that because it's an important issue. And I did want to, don't have my glasses, but I did want to take a couple of notes just because. So yesterday's situation is obviously extremely troubling to all of us. It is not something that was the actions of the city of Woonsocket.
Right.
It was a failure by Synagro, which is consumed the entire day once it was recognized, which will consume today's entire day. There's a meeting this morning at 10 o'clock with DEM, meetings on the phone yesterday, Zoom meetings, and this is just something that is unacceptable. And I know people, laugh and chuckle when we say this is inherited by the administration and inherited by a previous administration. But you have to look at it and you have to try to tackle it. And we've tried to do that, but we're at the point where we have some serious decisions to make, and not just the administration. Can we get to a point where we do not have this facility? We don't know. We have a contract that was actually introduced by John Ward that is this ridiculously long, I think, 20-year contract with 2 5-year extensions. When you sign 30-year contracts, you're binding the city of Woonsocket. So now we have this situation with this overflow. We have stopped the tankers. We are not allowing them into the facility at this point in time.
All right. Well,
As of
Because it
yesterday.
becomes a major environmental
Exactly.
issue and
Exactly.
safety issue.
Yes.
And it's not like the Blackstone River is just in Woonsocket.
right. It goes a long way.
It flows
That's
downstream.
Right. That's right. And I just want to say this. The reason for the failure is because it was an equipment failure. And the equipment, if you do not maintain and continually make improvements to your equipment, just like any other equipment, your equipment that your hands
Yeah.
are on right now,
It's gonna
you are
break.
going to have failure. You cannot allow it to end its life.
Well, I'm glad to hear that the city and DEM and Senegal are all getting together.
Right, and
today
I
to go
and I
over
just
it and see where you can go
we
from there.
are we have been. This is something that is a full-time job.
Yeah.
And I will say, and no knock on anyone, this is not as easy as people think it is. It is an extremely complicated matter. It's not put the stack higher. The stack has nothing to do with it, right? Put deodorizer in it.
Yeah.
It is nothing like that. And people who speak to this issue, who are not in this field, have no idea. You have to be in this
Right,
field to
right.
understand it. I'm not in this field. I only learn as we go.
All right, we're going to run. The show has come to an end. We thank you for listening as always. Bob Lauder, thanks for coming in today.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Hope to be with you soon.
All right, and Em, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me, and I hope everybody has a good weekend. I'll be here next week, same time, same place.
Very good. And Woonsocket Mayor Lisa Baldelli Hunt, thanks for coming in.
Everyone enjoy the day.
Very good. This is Joe Callahan. Have a wonderful day, everyone, and stay tuned for Gary Smith and the crew. Do you remember it's at 9:30 on ON Radio?
Broadcasting live and local daily from the Navigant Credit Union broadcast studio at the corner of Park Avenue and Kennedy Street. This is